Welcome to the Hour of Power. The Hour of Power. Since people had mentioned they kind of enjoyed or got much out of what Jamal and I did a while back, we thought we'd do that. Also, writing and that sometimes isn't the best, so maybe people can see our faces and know. So we decided we'd try it again. And with Jamal, between Jamal and I, we thought the first thing we would tackle or go on is false gods.
False gods.
And what I'd like to do is turn it over to Jamal, since he actually suggested that. We'll start with him.
Yeah, false gods is traditionally a Christian word or term, and it's about really chasing things that give you a sense of value that are not God. So you treat them like they're God. You treat them like they're supposed to feed you a sense of purpose and a sense of value. In other words, you treat them like they're God, like they created you, like they gave you, purpose and value. And for some people, let's say a false god would be beauty, right? Let's say a woman doesn't feel loved by parents or God, or she's feeling lack of love, but then she discovers that she gets a lot of attention from her looks. So then she serves the false god beauty, and she gets a lot of value from that. She thinks that her purpose in life is beauty. So that would be an example of a false god. And I would also say that we get into relationships with false god because of a lack of love that we feel, or a lack of relationship with the true God.
Actually, we talked about doing this more than a week ago or so, the original idea, and we picked the topic. So I've been thinking about it, and to me, being simplistic, I think we need to start with, what is God or a God? The simplest thing I can come up with is God is the creator. So what does it mean to have a false God? Something that you look to, that you see as your creator. But that sounds kind of funny. You can't have two creators, which is kind of obvious. But let's put it this way, going with what Jamal said about seeking value, the other thing I understood is what the great revelation that Jesus brought, that God is actually our Father, our actual original parent. And that really made me look at God being a parent. That's why He's the creator. And parents create their children. And this is the thing, is who defines and creates the child? Who defines the value of that child? Who defines the worth and the preciousness of that child? Right. Well, we would obviously say the parent.
Right.
Okay, especially the father.
Right. But you don't get that concept from the satanic world.
No, you don't.
From the satanic world, you get the concept that you're an individual, so you make your own way in life. And there is no reflection on what your birth and conception meant to the very people who made you.
Right.
There's no reflection on that. We're not guided by satanic culture to consider, hey, mom, dad, when you made me, right? Because most people are made in lust, I suppose, so you automatically discount that anyway. But there's no time to really bond with the parents and kind of sync up with their values as a sense of self.
Well, and I think that has a lot to do with it. I was reflecting, leading up to this, about the relationship with God and false gods, but I thought about the 10 Commandments, which are, many people say, but the first one is, you shall have no other gods before me. And I was thinking, if God is really the parent, how can we paraphrase or restate that in that perspective? And it was like, listen, you only have one true parent. True parent, the parent that actually created you. And that is meant to be where your value and your essence comes from, is judged by, and held to account by. And if you look at this in a small child, when they feel their parents are displeased with them, their whole world crumbles. Anybody who has 2-year-olds knows this. When mommy or daddy aren't this, and it's a learning process. But think about it, if you had someone come in and say, no, they're no longer your parent, you serve me. So what is really a false god? It is someone, a false god is someone or something we look to that we let define our sense of value and purpose. And that's what I wanted to get to. And one of the examples that I always go to, always struck me as growing up, teenage boys in high school. Forget their lack of attention and their hormone levels and all that type of stuff. That's not what I want to focus on. I want to focus on how many of them, and I'm sure all of you have been, they get into the car thing.
Oh, as their sense of identity.
Well, they end up...
I'm a car aficionado.
Well, no, their car, the steering wheel, whatever, their car becomes what they worship. In other words, what does worship mean? Worship false gods. Relate to it. In other words, you tend to it, you do it, you give it actually more value than you give yourself.
Yeah, or another way to look at it would be you give it a place of honor.
Mm-hmm.
Where, you know, it has the power over you to make you happy and not happy.
Exactly.
You give it a place of honor even above yourself, that you're going to have a rainy day or a sunny day based on what's going on with that thing, that car.
Yeah, my God, if somebody scratches the door.
Right. So that would mean that you lost a connection with something else that could give you happiness and a value. You've boxed out everything, including, well, parents and the real God, as a source of validation. Because if things were going bad with your automobile, you should be able to remember, well, at least I'm still so-and-so's son and daughter, and at least they're still happy with me, right? And you could get over it quickly. But if you've boxed out everything and you're now worshiping this car, then bam, it makes or breaks your day.
Right. And, I mean, there's many false gods. Jamal talked about vanity, beauty, being chaste. The other one is, important position, and that I'm in the inner circle or whatever. You know, my value comes from...
Social standing.
Yeah, social standing and that. But I kind of, during the week leading to this, I kind of flipped it on its head and said, okay, we are talking about the false gods, but what is... There's obviously a proper God, the original God, our parent. What's the original proper relationship? And as Jamal was saying, our sense of whether our day is rainy or sunny should be based on that relationship. Because in reality, why do we form this type of relationship of worship? It's because that's the way we were made. It's through this, worship is a vertical relationship.
Ooh.
Yeah. And
Woo!
we're made that we automatically, instinctively know that if I relate to the vertical, I'm going to get real value. I will understand my value, my purpose, and I can feel energy and joy.
Wow.
And I'm alive.
Wow.
And this brings me to jumping very far, very quickly.
Wait, before you jump there, can you
Oh,
make
yeah,
a
go
mental
ahead.
note there?
Sure.
I
got it.
Okay,
Go ahead.
okay.
Jump in.
Man, isn't that right up under our nose? Because you don't, I don't, you probably don't either. From the day you were born, you don't, you don't distinguish that that's what you've been doing your whole life. You've been following a narrative, right, in your mind that says the story goes a certain way and you're a certain player. And in the story, there's a vertical connection. There's something that's giving you value and something that because you're in its eyes, playing some sort of role. And the first one is the parent-child relationship, obviously, right? Like Robert said, 2-year-old made his day is made or broken by whether mom and daddy are happy with him, right? And so then the adolescent kid gets into his car and his day is broken. Well, both of those are in the narrative of some sort, and the narrative says, this is the thing that gives you value, and so you're to judge yourself and judge the value of your day according to this narrative. If the boy loves his car and the car is broken, somehow the car has cursed him. You know, if the boy is in a false God relationship with the car and the car is purring nicely, well, the car has blessed him. And if the car attracts some chicks or some new friends, the cool kids he starts becoming cool with some more cool kids, the car has blessed me. You know, there's always this narrative of this God thing giving you blessings.
Or cursing you.
Or curses, you know. It's the make or break narrative of your life, you know.
Yeah, going back to where I say making a jump is, you know, what Jesus said to the scribes and Pharisees. You are of your father, the devil, and your will is to do the devil. Or some translations, Satan, whatever. But what does devil or Satan mean? Literally, in the original deal, in the Hebrew and the tradition, Satan wasn't a singular concept. It simply meant enemy, those that strive against the true God, the Creator. You know, so Jesus is saying, you are of your father, Satan, and your will is to do your will. Look at the scribes and Pharisees. What was their false god? Actually, the laws of Moses.
Well, it's kind of being
Well,
seen as knowledgeable of the laws.
Well,
right?
well, knowledgeable of the laws, but what I'm saying is, what did they worship? They were very diligent. This is the thing. You can find out what people's false gods are very easy. Watch what they worship and focus and attend to. There were many scribes and Pharisees that spent days and hours constantly reading the laws of Moses, the Torah. Okay? And there's much to be gained in there. But the point is that became their God instead of what the law actually testified to when Jesus says, you study the law of Moses because you think it gives you life, yet you do not recognize me that it testifies to.
Right. So we understand, let's just assume we understand the advent of Jesus and what it means to humanity.
Right.
And Jesus said that they are sucking off the teat of a false god when he says,
Yes.
you think you'll find life in them. In other words, you think you'll be animated by a sense of significance.
Yeah.
Value. A sense of value that being knowledgeable gives you. And you think that being knowledgeable or being seen as knowledgeable, which is vanity, you think knowledge or vanity will animate you because it will give you a sense of, I have arrived, I've checked in with my origin, and my origin has said that I fit the mold. You know, and you're attending, you keep referring to this false origin, this false narrative saying that a successful or valuable person is XYZ, right? Knowledge is telling you, if you know this much, then you've reached value. Or vanity is telling you, if you're seen by this many people or adored by this many people, then you've reached. You know, and then once you've arrived, you'll be so animated. So Jesus is saying, you think that you search the law looking for life, thinking that it's going to give you life. And I'm just saying that I think life is that sense of animation you get because you think, my Lord finally sees value in me.
Yeah, my Lord, my God sees value in me.